All right, we're back right now at 47 past the hour. Manufacturing industry lost another 19,000 jobs last month. Third straight decline in factory jobs. And our next guest says, not really any surprise to her, the manufacturing is under more pressure than most people realize. Lynn Tilton, president and CEO of the private equity firm Patriarch Partners, manages more than $5 billion. It's a pleasure to have you with us. I know you don't do a lot of TV, so we're honored to have you here today as well.
It's my pleasure.
Now, we were talking about temporary employment before and how that has been impacted in this latest report. And you happen to be chairman of Snelling & Snelling, which is a company that most people know is very much involved in temporary employment. So tell me, what are you seeing there?
We see it as a leading indicator of what's really coming, and that's that job growth is slowing. And although the numbers have been somewhat positive to people, we see it from a different level, both from Snelling and the other 69 companies that we have equity interests in.
All right, now you say slowing. I want to key on the temporary employment thing for a minute here. Slowing how much? Has it hit the wall? Has it just kind of tapered off a little bit? Was there at one point where there was a dramatic change?
I think what you're seeing is month-over-month growth is the lowest it's been in 3 years. And I think it's been slipping from the beginning of this year, month over month. So I think you really do see a trend that's basically going to be a predictor of what comes.
What are they hearing from the people who, the clients who would normally call for temporary workers? Are there signs of concern, something more serious than concern, or is it just they're playing it safe right now?
Well, I think people are definitely playing it safe, but I think if you get down to the grassroots level, there is concern. I mean, I think the data and the fundamentals that we look at today are not necessarily the same predictors of the past.
Really? Why not?
We live in a global world. It's changed forever, and there are variables that have changed. And I think you have to look at how the average American is truly living. And I think one of the important pieces of data that nobody talks about is real dollars. In 1970, if you were making $48,000, today, 25 years later, or 26 years later, that's $44,000. I mean, the average American has a negative savings rate of 5.2%. And 25% of all mortgages in the next 2 years could double in rates, negating equity levels where everybody's money is in their homes.
It's a pretty bleak picture you're painting here. So how do you, with all these companies, deal with that? How do you plan for a future managing and overseeing companies that got to make a profit from these people who are apparently in for a hard time?
I think what we try to do is create jobs. We try to create jobs, and we're trying to build a bridge between the East and the West to keep American industry alive.
It basically comes down to that, though. It has to be a global interface because this country, if it goes it alone, is in serious trouble.
I think so. I mean, I think you actually have to weave a tapestry of East and West, and that basically the bridging of the world is really what's going to keep U.S. industry alive.
But how does manufacturing in the U.S. compete with wage scales that are absurdly low compared to it, and production costs that are much lower?
It doesn't. So what you really have to do is create manufacturing and distribution and marketing arms that bridge the manufacturing. And you have to have a global stance. You have to have factories overseas, and you have to basically bring in just in time from the U.S. and long lead time from overseas.
Is U.S. business doing that well now or not?
I think we're getting better at it. I think we're realizing that survival is the noblest of our causes.
Not a bad one, I agree with that. Only about 30 seconds left here. Of all the companies, which one is doing the best right now?
Oh, American La France is at least coming back the best, which is a 175-year-old fire rescue company.
Oh, yeah. Any kid who knows anything about fire trucks knows what that is.
Yeah. When you have all the boys' toys, you get to be every man's fantasy.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, we have to leave it there. We really appreciate you coming in. We wish you the best of luck, and thank you so much for visiting us today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Lynn Tilton, the president and CEO of Patriarch Partners. We're going to pause right now. I'll be back with more news update for you in a moment.